In the third quarter of 2018, just as the Chinese government was getting ready to implement some strict new tax rules, a gentleman named Sun Hongbin, a Chinese billionaire, silently transferred $4.5 billion worth of shares in his real estate investment firm to a company on a street corner in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Now, don't get me wrong, the city is actually quite nice and has some picturesque views, but it makes you wonder why a Chinese billionaire would be attracted to it. Well, Sun Hongbin has not been the only billionaire attracted to the city, as it seems the money of super rich individuals and their families has been headed there in increasing volumes. Now, I apologize to anyone who is from or currently lives in South Dakota, but I think it's safe to say that the state isn't the biggest or the most popular. With a population of less than 900,000, you'd be right in wondering why billionaires from all over the world absolutely love it. But the thing is, these wealthy individuals aren't looking to live in the state. They just want somewhere to stash their money. And of all the places in the world to put your money, why would you want it in South Dakota? Well, that's what we'll be sharing in this video. So be sure to stick around until the end. Before we get started, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so you don't miss any of our new videos. So, if you happen to be a millionaire or even a billionaire, you'll know that there's a thing rich people use to manage and store their money, and it's called a Dynasty Trust. For those of you that aren't millionaires or billionaires yet, you're wondering what exactly is a Dynasty Trust. Well, it's a form of trust that allows rich people to store their money for a very, very long period of time. We're talking centuries and even longer. Now, it's important to understand that money in a trust is completely protected from estate and transfer taxes. What this means is that all the money can be transferred from generation to generation, which in the case of a dynasty trust can go on forever. Even better, the wealth can remain practically intact, regardless of the number of times that it is transferred. This is why you can have a case like the family that owned Mars Inc., passing on billions from one generation to the next without losing much through taxation. That said, a number of states in the US have been loosening their trust laws over time in order to attract newer businesses and enable them to compete favorably with traditional corporate-friendly states. But a lot of them still have a rule against perpetuities, basically making it impossible to store and be able to transfer their wealth for an indefinite period of time. However, a few states have altered that rule with the intention of attracting wealthy people to invest their money in the state. States like Wyoming and Alaska are amongst them, but South Dakota is basically a chief in this area. The alteration of that rule started for South Dakota in the 1980s, but the actual legislation was passed in 1995. So, for almost 30 years, South Dakota has been the place to go if you really want to store your money forever. To some, South Dakota is a flyover state, and while many rich people find a way to fly over South Dakota, somehow their dollars keep finding a way to land there. With the dynasty trusts, there are no state income tax, no inheritance tax, and no capital gains tax. So basically, it seems that this is the state where you go if you suddenly come into a lot of wealth that you don't want to be taxed for. You'll be joining a number of dynastically wealthy families, including the Carlsons of Minnesota, who own Radisson Hotels, the Pritzker family of Chicago, who own Hyatt Hotels, and the Wrigley family, who are the heirs of William Wrigley, the chewing gum magnate. It's quite interesting that a state with a population smaller than Norfolk in England is controlling all this wealth. For better context, trust companies in South Dakota held roughly $57 billion in assets a decade ago. But just take a guess at what the amount is now. More than $500 billion. And all of that is managed by 106 trust companies in one small state. A state with just enough facilities and infrastructure to cater for its population. This just goes to show that we are far from reaching true globalization. We are at the point where money can be transferred from anywhere and to anywhere in the world within minutes. However, money laws are still very much localized, which is why businesses of dynasty trusts can thrive in places like South Dakota. Like the Chinese billionaire story I mentioned earlier, a number of countries outside the US have been putting stringent measures in place to curb the storage of wealth outside of their countries. However, it is difficult for these measures to amount to much, as billionaires and multimillionaires are always looking for ways to protect their wealth, and probably wouldn't be as rich as they are if they'd not been so proactive in the first place. These trusts are so central to South Dakota's identity and economy that I doubt they'll be changing any laws anytime soon. The state of South Dakota is considered the premier trust most jurisdiction in the United States for a reason. Pushing for a review of the trust laws would be considered biting the hand that feeds you. I'm sure the legislators know that the industry is a booming one and would do wonders for the economy of the state, and provided the industry continues to boom, it would be difficult for them to stand against it. So for now, South Dakota remains the primary money-storing destination for the super rich, even before a place like Switzerland, one of the greatest havens of them all. Question of the day: if you were fortunate enough to be a part of the super rich club, would you set up a Dynasty Trust? Or do you think it's better to spend all your money in your lifetime? Let us know in the comments section. And while you're there, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. We hope you enjoyed this video, and check out some of our other videos around the super rich. Goodbye, my fellow Lux Cats. Until next time.